role that Parliament plays in our democracy.
Thank you so much, Raymond. And I would like to really congratulate each one of us who is in the room and thank those who have gathered us here together. So NIMD, Akina Mama of Africa and the other partners, we are excited to be here today to discuss the journey of affirmative action for the last 20 years. And we feel that we shall continue talking about it. There is a lot that has been gained from the affirmative action program. When did this affirmative action program start? The affirmative action program is a product of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, and is under Article 32 of the Constitution. And the article states that the state shall take necessary steps to ensure that they provide for affirmative action for groups of individuals who have otherwise been discriminated against in terms of gender, in terms of historical biases and cultural norms that could have infringed them from participation in leadership and in all other spheres of life. And amongst these are now the young people. And possibly we also take it up from Article 21, which also empowers us with the right to freedom, right to participation, equality before the law. And when we are all equal before the law, according to that article, then we know that we have a right to participate in politics. We are not supposed to be discriminated against. We are not supposed to be left out. The affirmative action was in essence meant to create a balance. And out of that affirmative action, there is a creation of the Equal Opportunities Commission. The Equal Opportunities Commission, a body that was now meant to do the checks and balances and ensure that the affirmative action is taking the shape it was meant to check, ensure that there is compliance, ensure that the actors are doing it the right way and for the right cause. And so we believe, personally I'm a beneficiary of the affirmative action program. Starting from a district councillor when I was 26 years old, up to the time when I entered Parliament at the age of 34, I was doing it under affirmative action. And so I want to say congratulations to the affirmative action program. Possibly I wouldn't have made it if it wasn't there. So I can just tell you that I'm a beneficiary of the affirmative action program, and so there are steps and there are achievements that we have had as a result of these provisions. And I can say many of us here, I saw my sister saying I'm the next member of Parliament for Northern Uganda. She wants to benefit from this affirmative action program. That's why we say it must continue. The affirmative action program enabled young girls to advance in education under the provision of the 1.5. Yes, like you have said, because of the affirmative action program, our government has been compelled to ensure that even in cabinet, there is a third, which wouldn't have been the case before. At a time when the likes of the Speciosa Wandera Kaziwes were in Parliament, my sisters, the Beatrice Kirasos, were in Parliament, even when it was affirmative action, but before them, before the 1995 Constitution, it wasn't very clear. Women were struggling, but we all know the barriers that women and young people face. I can tell you from my experience, when I contested as a district councillor, the issue was, what is this young woman coming to bring on board? There was systemic discrimination against me because of my age. Even now, when a woman wants to contest on a direct seat, they will say a woman is coming to disturb men. That is a preserve of men. So for us as a country to have affirmative action, who are trying to redress the historical injustices and imbalances, together with the patriarchal settings in which we live, that would not give a right of participation and also economical gain to these young people and the women, together with the persons with a disability, who otherwise have ideas but would not have found a platform where to air them from. And so there are strides that we have made. But we have also a lot to do to realize the reason for which affirmative action was put in place.
We're going to get to a lot to do. When Winnie starts speaking, I think she should be our president. So sometimes I have to let her speak a little bit more. We've been joined by Jacob Eyero. Thank you so much. And apologies to Mr. Mohammed Walid. I had forgotten to introduce you. Please, you come take your seat at the front. But I wanted to, Nimrod, if I could come to you, in terms of affirmative action for young people. And I was doing my numbers in the study last night. The average age for the Ugandan parliament, from as early as independence, has always been 40, which is really a young. All parliaments of Uganda have been young parliaments. Did we need a very specific representation for young people if parliament was by nature already a very young parliament?
Thank you. My name is Nimrod. Thank you, Raymond. Absolutely, yes. If I'm start from there. The affirmative action, when you look at the Article 32 that brings it in 1995 Constitution, was very clear that is meant to give chance to those groups that are disadvantaged, maybe in terms of age, in terms of region, or in terms of nature, like disability. When we bring it close to the young people, I think it is true that we needed it that time, because the politics in nature is that young people find it difficult to compete on direct seats. Let me give you an example. When I go to my district now to contest for direct member of parliament, the first question I will have, if at all in other districts, I come from Namisindwa, the first question I will have is, where is your house? Who is your wife? Definitely, these are the questions I will have. And it puts me at a disadvantage immediately. So I think, regardless of the nature of parliament, the issue of having affirmative action for the young people, it's correct and we should push for it. But I think it's high time that we evaluate it a little more. Why? You realize that if the 5 members of parliament that represent the young people don't push their agenda and advocate or push for alliance within parliament, that even other members of parliament can join their ideas, it will definitely be the same case every day, every year. So I honestly, need to answer your question directly, I think we still need it, but we can evaluate it, we can discuss it deeply, and also the quality of those members of the elect, these fellow brothers and sisters, the quality of members of parliament that represent the young people. I think it matters a lot, because if they have the right ones, they can push for what we need as young people.
I was going to ask who are the right ones, but let me reserve that question for Lynette. And Lynette, for me, the heart of the matter is you have just 5 members of parliament in that parliament who are on the affirmative action seat for youth issues. Any matter on the floor of parliament has to be voted by 2/3 majority, other times 1/3 majority. You're nowhere close to getting the numbers that you need. Do we really need young people in that parliament, in the sense that these people are there on affirmative action? Or do we need to push already existing members of parliament to recognize that young people are the largest constituent majority of this country, and therefore the issues matter the most?
Thank you very much, Raymond. My name is National Youtj, for those that don't know me. I think, clearly, it's a matter of what is a greater evil. Because if we say, why is 5 a number enough to push for youth issues, I'll also pose the same question to you. The people that are in parliament, don't they have youth in their constituencies? Why don't they advocate for youth issues? Why do they leave the burden to the 5? Yet when campaign time comes, when when we are on the rallies, we want as many youth to come and join our rallies. So the conversation is, what is the lesser evil? For me, I say we need the 5. The 5 should mobilize others to join them to advocate for their voices. As the Multi-Party Youth Forum, we even had a suggestion that we fronted. We are saying, well, since everyone is gazetting places, every electoral period, we keep on hearing constituencies that keep on developing. Why don't we increase the number of the youth representation so that we have a bolder voice to advocate for young people voices in that parliament? Now, for me, secondly, the other thing is tokenism. The goal of tokenism is transformation. Yes, 5 is less a number, but it's better than having none. When we talk about affirmative action, we often think of what the pros and cons, but then we do not think about the impact. Now, I will first leave the sector of the youth alone and talk about the people the people that are disabled. People that are disabled, in any constituencies, we have people that are disabled. How many people do you hear on the floor of parliament front issues of people with disabilities? So if we say, let's scrap off affirmative action, we might scrap off the only chance for participation for certain vulnerable groups. And like Nimrod said, in the youth fraternity, when we are voting our youth MPs, there are things that we do not pay attention to. If I come to stand, we will listen and say, Raymond, your suggestions are good, or probably other factors that influence that election. But marriage will not be our problem. Houses will not be our problem. Half of us don't even know where our members of parliament stay, as far as the youth docket is. But it also helps groom other people to come into that space, because the bulk of trying to prove yourself is not as big as the bulk of trying to prove yourself in adult suffrage. So for me, I think 5 is a number to start with that we should keep or increase, but we cannot say, let this be thrown out.
All right, Jacob, I know your entire office exists on affirmative action, so for you can't wish it away. But when people say young people's issues and youth matters, and sometimes they look at your office, you have a budget of just 4 billion shillings. You can't even solve the youth problems of Makerere University alone. How do you juxtapose your office with its efficacy in solving young people's problems?
Thank you, Ray. It's interesting you're saying I have a budget of 4 billion. That's next financial year.
Yes, it's there. We've passed the budget. It's coming.
This ending one, I've operated on a budget of 300 million. And that's the reality young people do not know. I don't believe in giving excuses of why we have failed. I believe that even if, because yes, we have a budget of 4 billion in the next financial year, but we achieved that through our own effort, not through the effort of any minister, not through the engagement of any older person. It's us with that 300 million that achieved the return of the budget to 4 billion. But even beyond that, we achieved the presence of a budget for celebration of International Youth Day, as opposed to a situation where annually young people do not know whether they will celebrate or commemorate the day on the basis of the fact that the money comes from the president alone. So we have solved 2 things, but we solved it when we did not have the budget. That speaks to the capacity of organization. The quality of leadership that comes out of any institution depends on the nature and the quality of the leader. If the leader is someone that is going to give excuse for what they do not have, then you're going to end up with a situation where we will not have the National Youth Council today. Because the National Youth Council that the Right Honorable Dan Kidega led in 1993 had 0 allocation on budget. The National Youth Council's budget went to beyond 1 billion for the first time in 2017. 4 presidents, 4 chairpersons down the road. So when we came in, it was at 2 billion. We got it to 4 billion for 1 year. They took it back to 800 million, going way below what we found it. We got a supplementary in that year. The next year, they took it back to 800 million, but we realized only 300 million. It is after argument and argument that government has finally said, fine, let's settle this at 4 billion going forward. But that's not even enough, like I've said. I believe that the National Youth Council budget should be a minimum of 10 billion when you look at necessity. Because you have structures being elected today, but I tell you that that village chairperson who is being elected today will not touch any of the 4 billion. Because there's no way it's going to reach 72,000 villages. The parish chairperson in 10,500 parishes will not touch the 4 billion because there's no way you're going to reach that level. In our term, we have just solved the question of money reaching at the district level, beyond centralization at the national. And so to come to the question, for me, the ecosystem of youth leadership in our country is much more representative. In other words, we elect very many people. But in terms of performance, there are still structural questions that need to be addressed. And in addressing those structural questions, you must ask not just the financing question, but the entire resourcing question. For example, what is exactly at the Secretariat of the National Youth Council? If the Secretariat of the National Youth Council, the youth of Uganda, can be served by 4 staff, then that's a joke. But actually right now, we have 1 staff recruited to serve the youth of Uganda. 1. And that is the structure of the merged system. So some of the people that are running and are coming into the structures need to be more creative. One of the things that we did was to expand the program area of the National Youth Council so we can base on deliveries where young people are already entrenched and we work with money that we don't host. For example, the National Youth Council, working on a climate program, financed it entirely through UNDP and did not, in fact, handle any of that money. But young people were able to access COP venues, were able to do work along that, were able to get sponsorships for young people to do a lot of things on climate simply by not owning the program to be financed by us. Akina Mama Africa is here. We ran a whole young women's empowerment program where we did about 10 fellowships with over 50 young women, because we have a very big problem, even in the youth structure. In this room, there are many young women, because they say whoever wants will be chosen, and the choosing was done this way. But if you say, let's go for elections, and you don't have a position for secretary for female affairs, you may return 99% men in the whole of the youth structure, 700,000 of them. One of the examples is the NRM Youth League, which has just completed. If you see the number of women per district in the structure from the village to the district level, you might find only 1 girl in the entire district. And that lady being there could have been either on the basis that they were already strong politically or their father or mother is a politician. Other than that, girls are not emerging. So in that regard, it's partnership with people like Akina Mama that come in handy. And building value-based, building program-based, target-based programming around what is necessary without the resource, but with coalition, with organization, with collaboration, is for me the way to go.
But maybe if I could just press you a little bit there, and I'll come to a lead after. In terms of the people that end up in the political structure, is the structure the problem? Or do you say that if we mentor people and they run on direct elections, for example, would that solve the problem? If we mentor them to run on direct seats without having to give them affirmative action. So is the structure the problem, or is the mentorship of people the problem?
I think there is no easy answer to the question. You cannot say that the structure is not part of the problem, because the structure presents as a tool that government has provided for management of young people in politics. They say, no, you're still young, go to the National Youth Council. Or you're still young, join the FDC Youth League, you still have time. So in that presence of a structure that combines young people, there is a problem in the mental build-up or mental restriction of a young person. That a Jacob Beyeru who would have said, let me go and run for Soroti County, says, no, there is youth MP, let me run for youth member of parliament, even if they have the resourcing capacity. But for me, that's a surmountable problem, because if you bring in the rightly mentored young people, these fellowships that are graduating young people, and this is what I always say, that if you have the opportunity to sit in this room today, listen to Honorable Winnie Kiza, the Right Honorable John Patrick Amama Mbabazi, You are the person who should go and run, not the one who should go on social media to comment. Because the quality that comes out of the rural youth who cannot access this room cannot be the same with you who has listened to why we moved from the movement system into the multi-party system. And that's where the problem is, that the translation of the young person that is trained in this way, mentored in this way, into active politics, it's not happening at the rate we need as a country. In the National Youth Council, as my term winds up, holding a council meeting in the language of English eliminates about 40% of the room from contributing. It's a painful reality, but it is the reality. Because there's no education requirement, but the lack of education requirement does not bar people who have attended universities to join. But they never join. Do you understand what I'm saying?
What's something about the quality of the young people that you're leading?
No. So it's also not true that because you did not attend school, you don't know the problems of your community. But I'm just saying that the language of work is the language of English. So in many occasions, you have to also find a way of incorporating a sub-regional consensus with one person to communicate the issue, because the rest may not be able to articulate it well. As I end it, I want to say this as next. The quality of the work done by a leader of the young people is a choice of the leader. It is not by pressing of the community, it is by choice of the leader. If the leader came in and said that what I want to do is travel, and I show you people that I can travel all over the world, that is the quality of work you will see. If the leader says, no, I want to make sure that the National Youth Council structure works to the parish level, that is what they work towards, and that's what they produce. It's incumbent on the young people to assess which leader is having what quality and how do they position the right leaders in the right position. I thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Mlindwa, I want to bring you into the conversation, and then we'll ask our audience to give us some questions. In many ways, young people are the problem of Uganda. And one thing, either Uganda solves us or we solve it. There's no other way. We are the demography that's here for the future. Some of the problems we have, health and education, that's where the governments have to spend a lot of their money. But in also many ways, when you look at the political structure, political representation, political conversations, you get the feeling these people live on Mars. They rule over young Uganda, but they live on Mars. From your standpoint, what do you think is the gap between young people communicating their frustrations and leadership listening to them?
Thank you very much. For correction, I'm Mlindwa Walid Lubega. I'm the deputy spokesperson of the Forum for Democratic Change Party. I'm also here as an immediate former National Youth leader of the Forum for Democratic Change Party. Allow me to thank NIMD, together with the affiliate partners, for organizing this civic engagement. To go straight to the question, I think where the gap lies is the lack of mentorship for the young people by the state, because that is the responsibility of the state. Imagine in Uganda, we have a population that is mainly made up of young people. In Africa, we are next to Niger in terms of having the youngest population. But that population is more or less dependent. We have a population that is, in today's, there is a new acronym called Luseke. People survive on Luseke. 74% of Ugandans are survivors. They depend on somebody. When we go out in the villages to mobilize, they will, after the meeting, they will take you somewhere and say, so that kind of population is a time bomb for our country, and most especially they are young people. So we have a population of about 26% who are living on fairly sustainable livelihood. So they don't depend on anybody. But the 74, I'm bringing that into perspective to give you the big problem that the country has. That population is the one where we are looking for in terms of leadership. That means it will produce leaders who are also survivors. Leaders who survive on politicians. Leaders who peddle Lugambo to survive on what? On leadership. So, in my own view, there are no deliberate effort by the government to ensure that the young people that are empowered, programs that we have in place in yoga, programs like PDM, they are just campaign slogans. Or if they are there, they are like Panadol. They cannot solve a sickness. So, in that regard, that's where the problem comes in. So the structures, we believe they are not a problem. The only problem is that the government has not put in place an enabling environment to have our structures work. We have already had the research from NIMD about how the structures are relevant. And the structures say, the research said the structures are very active between the time of campaigning, but after campaigning, the structures become what? Dormant. Meaning we have structures which are reduced to voting machines. We elect structures from the village, the NYC structures, up to the district, ostensibly to vote the Jacob Yelu, to vote the Nyamutoros into office. Once that responsibility is done, everybody for his own, and God for. So that is the situation where we find ourselves. So in my own view, I'm speaking at the position of the Forum for Democratic Change, where we view, if we were in government, we think we would do differently. How? We would empower the structures. You had the Honorable telling you the kind of problems he has. So, we want to empower these structures to go beyond voting, to have meaningful structures that will drive economic transformation in the village, such that the leaders that will be elected will be the vision bearer, will be the commanders of development within the areas that they come from, rather than looking for what? Looking at them as voting machine. So we also think there is the issue of quality, which my brother Jacob ably talked about. The issue of quality. The quality is lacking. We can trace from 2006 up to date, when we acquired the multi-party political dispensation. The quality, if you look at the candidates, the MPs that were elected, I remember very well here in the Central Region where I come from. In 2006, the young people from Central voted the Honorable Muyombia Kasozi as their member of Parliament. In 2011 and up to 2016, the Forum for Democratic Change fielded the Honorable Joel Senyoni as our flag bearer for Buganda region. I attended that election in Masaka. In that election, we lost, and the Honorable Nakabale Patrick took the day. In 2016 to 2021, we went to Masaka, Patel Samaj. We elected the Honorable Sarah H4LU as our member of parliament for Uganda region. In 2021 or 2020, we elected the current member of parliament for Central Region. People even don't know her. So why am I looking? I'm giving you that memorandum is to help you to locate these members of parliament in the Google political map. Who can locate them where they are, with the exception of the incumbent member of parliament for Uganda. The rest, they are nowhere to be seen. They politically died and disappeared. Even their political issue was what? Was organized. So that means the quality of the leaders that we have produced, and this does not only apply for Uganda region alone, it applies to the rest of the country. That after electing these leaders, they vanished because their productivity could not be felt anywhere. They could neither go into NGO and do civil society work. They could no longer, the Honorable Winnie Chiza, we celebrate her as our former leader of opposition. We the FDC, we had the responsibility to make her as law. And I'm very proud that I'm sitting on the same table with my mom. She mentored me because by that time she was the Women League chair. I was the deputy youth leader of the party. So at least you can locate the Honorable Winnie Chiza. She can be invited to mentor, groom the young people. These people I've mentioned, nobody can have access to them. They cannot even go back in their constituencies where they come from and be re-elected. Because of the what? The quality. The NRM used the money to make them win. They rig it. Just like the rigging is happening in the village today, as I speak, to make NRM voting machines go through, and then the right leaders are left in the village vanishing. So that's what that talks about the quality. If I go to the NYC, we've had several leaders of the NYC. The Mr. Samuel Kabuma, we had the Honorable Agaba Abbas. Can you imagine a former youth leader was appointed as an RDC? A national youth leader is a person who's pretend over the biggest population countrywide, and you reduce a national youth leader to an RDC, Agaba Abbas. What kind of leadership do you have? And that is, for Museveni, that's what he does, what? He views things. So for him, as I wind up, he believes in having an octogenarian segment that he sits in State House to plan for the young people. The Honorable Muzei Ali, you saw how he was coronated as a flag bearer for Adjumani West, Moses Ali. He will return back and he will be made a minister in the State of Affairs he is. The Honorable Matia Kasaija, and those are the planners of the young people. Those are the people who sit on the table in the cabinet to plan for the young people. So if we have such kind of leadership, we should forget. So as I wind up, young people, I challenge you to use the numbers to cause a regime change, such that we can take charge of our own affairs, rather than depending on a 90-year-old Museveni to take charge of this country, together with the old, expired, extremely tired, worn out generations that are in charge of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mulindwa. But I don't know if you have the solution, because you've told us the quality of the young people is bad. I don't know if regime change will achieve good quality leadership. I don't know where our microphone is, but I will take 3 questions from the audience and then we'll get back. Oh my goodness, the questions are many. Where is our microphone? I think let's start there. And then we'll take 3 questions across the audience. All right. I think we'll start with that gentleman in the middle. Yes, we'll take one from here, one from here, one from here, and then we'll come back in another round. Yes. Please make your question as brief so that as many people can ask.
Yes. Good evening, good afternoon. My question goes to Honorable Walid and the former LOP. Are you happy with what you see that the current youth leaders are doing, or the way they are representing us? And the other question is, how do we move past the point of just being position holders rather than change makers? Thank you.
All right, the lady in the corner there, yes, in the black jacket.
Thank you. My name is Helena Sakisa, and I want Honorable Ayer Jacob and Lynette to speak into how tokenism, dependency on party patronage, bring about limited power within decision making, and they undermine the impact of affirmative action.
All right, then we'll take a gentleman here, this side. Then my panel would answer, then we'll come back. And I think the panel, if you keep your answers very short, you will have done affirmative action for other people whose hands are up. The gentleman at the back. Yes. I'll come to you. Let me start with the gentleman at the back then.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. My name is Kapuza Derek. First and foremost, I would like everyone here to know that another group of people who are marginalized now are the youth in the opposition. Then my question goes to the chairperson of the National Youth Council. We see that as the National Youth Council, you must bring about equality, and you must work for every youth in this country. You shouldn't actually affront ideas from a certain political party, though you are coming from another political party. As per now, we are in youth structures, and everything you can see, if at all you're not yellow, you're nothing. You can either be yellow or not yellow. And even the leaders we are electing into these positions, for example, we see them fronting the president. The same thing with other youth structures. For example, the Uganda National Students Association. This year, I don't know from whose council, they went ahead and endorsed the president for the next election. Isn't that division within the youth? How best can we bring about equity, and how best can we unite the youth in this politically challenged environment? Thank you.
All right, in a minute each, I think we'll start with Jacob and then answer your question at least in a minute, then we can get many more questions.
Thank you. I just want to make a very simple response. Being a youth does not mean you're not in politics. You're in politics. And appreciating what politics is the beginning of wisdom to your participation. There are things the National Youth Council does that are for youth. Then there are things National Youth Council leaders will do because they are in politics. For example, the achievement of government giving 3-year startup tax exemption, tax holidays for 3 years. It's not about whether you're NRM or FDC. We did that for the youth. 30% in the parish development model for the youth. The ability of the chairperson of the parish to sit on the parish development committee was not about whether you are NRM or not. In fact, we had a problem. The whole of the Mityana structure, almost every youth elected as the parish chairperson in Mityana was Loop, and they had rejected them to sit on the parish development committees. I had to personally intervene with the Minister of Local Government for them to write a specific letter saying it's not the NRM youth chairman, it is the youth chairperson of the parish, NRM or not. Those things happen in the time of service. When you come to the election year, that is when the Political Parties and Organizations Act 2015 comes alive again. People begin organizing around their political parties. And if at that point you still expect Yeru Jacob, my sister, you can hear how my brother Walid is saying. He's saying the PDM is nothing. But he's saying it because this is the election year. Last year he would say, I think PDM is helping us reach many people. So you need to accept that politics is also about timing, and that needs to be alive to you. The concern would be, in 5 years, have you done nothing for the youth population and you've only done things for the NRM? I would agree with you. But if it is no, there are things that are generic for the youth, and there are things that are because you're NRM, then you are in the right place at the right time. The second question was about, for my sister Helena, speak to tokenism and its impact, I think, on affirmative action. Is that it? In decision making. I think Lynette will do a better job because I have not been a big beneficiary of tokenism. But yes, I'm just, no, I'm not saying she has. Please allow me to complete the sentence. I know that women suffer a lot more challenging political space than men do. Some of you may not know, but very many of the young women that choose to run, when they look for financing, they are responded to with, what are you going to give me? And that's the reality. So they have come with ideas, with this fire, and they meet a very brilliant Yeru, the very rich Primus, a very rich Asimwe here, and the first thing Asimwe says is, okay, what are you going to give me? Because you need the financing. Now that is not something men face. And that's why I say that we need affirmative action to protect presence. It's already hard enough. But if you say without it, there will be no woman in parliament, I assure you that even the women who are powerful enough to win constituencies now, there you remove affirmative action, they will also lose their seats. Because people will now go back into their biases. So being tokenistic is not having an affirmative seat. Being tokenistic is saying, you can be here, but your voice will not matter. And how we fight that is by ensuring that in your own space, at your own level of organization, you are deliberate about pushing for these young women, for young people to be able to have their voice, which matters on the table. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I'm also answering Helena. I think tokenism, for me, I think we have lamented enough about the things that affect us in affirmative action. But I want to say, even when there's tokenism, there's still hope. For people like Akina Mama that have made it an effort to work with women in politics, to work with young women in politics, where because at some point people will plant, there's a system, and this is my honest truth, people will say, oh, we need a woman, and they'll choose the weakest of them just to have representation of a woman. They'll actually fight a vocal woman and pick the weakest of them just to have a seamless of inclusion. But the beauty of time now is there are people like Akina Mama that are willing to work on you, weak as you are. So as they choose you, weak as you are, make an effort to improve your quality of deliberation, your quality of conversation. If in the first year you've not been having arguments with them, by the time we come to the second year, you will have something to present, because at a point where everything is almost closing in civic space, the least we can do is grab the low-hanging fruits and work with them. I know that tokenism is there. I know patriarchy is there. But in a space where you at least get space, also women, work on yourself. Warid has made a suggestion and said where we cannot trace back the other youth MPs that have been here before. But if you are a quality youth MP, people will trace back to you. We cannot say we do not know where Honorable Mpakamwine is. That would be a lie. Even Honorable Sarah Babidi, she's in the sports fraternity, and she has been doing wonders until patronage met her there, and people started fighting her. But you see, sometimes the walls close in, but we pick the low-hanging fruits and go and fight with them. And I'm glad she fought and she won even that court case. So I think, despite the milky waters, we can navigate them. Because if we come here and all we do is say we are suffering, they are doing this, it won't help. This will be another gathering where we lament and go home. And I'm thinking, and I'm telling the young people now, the elections have started, like Ayera has said. The young people of opposition, I have been shouting, and I am still shouting, and telling you, now that they are voting at the village, have you been at the village? Have you put your people at the village? So that we can now start fighting at the parish as well. So that the next youth council, we have half NRM, half opposition. Then we will not say, because at least there is a little bit of a playing field where youth of opposition can be part of the council. But usually we also neglect ourselves because there's been a lot of force around us. We say, those things, let's give to NRM. And before you know it, you have a youth council that has 95%.
Are you saying it's wrong to be an NRM youth?
And I'm not saying it is wrong, but it becomes an NRM entity, because at the end of the day, it's in a multi-party dispensation. They say, all of you, come and stand. If it's the NRM that are presented, we will have a youth council that is 95% NRM. And if we have a 90% youth council that is NRM, chances are they will front the agenda of the NRM, because that's their inclination. That's the ideology they stand for. But if you want to be part of something, one thing I have learned in Uganda, if you want to be part of something, please present yourself. Opportunities meets prepared people. I can tell you, I have been the only female youth leader in Uganda. Only one. And I have been advocating for young people, please stand, and I am happy. People are changing. For the first time, we have a female contender for the national seat of the NRM of the youth. It has never been seen before. This is the first time. DP has a woman leader now. And for me, I will leave the youth fraternity excited that even when I am leaving, other women are joining the spaces. They will continue the fight, and other girls will get interested to be part of these conversations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, moderator. Getting to the question that was given to me, that are you happy with the current youth leaders, maybe in parliament and all the spaces of leadership? I will take it back to what I'm hearing from the youth leaders themselves, and also from the audience. We all know how these youth leaders come to be your leaders. With the current commercialization of elections or monetization of elections and campaigns, there is no way you are going to run away from patronage. Those who have the money, and majority of them are not young people, but the patrons who are older persons, they are the ones who will determine for you who is going to be your leader. And I can tell you, he who pays the piper calls the tune. Whoever has sponsored this leader, you will call him or her yours, but whoever gave him the money for this leader to go through will determine the agenda of that person. Until you people decide to choose your people irrespective of whether they have money or not, you will continue looking for your leaders and you will not see them. Because those leaders are answerable to the people who put them into leadership. So the moment you just lower yourself to that extent and say whoever brings the money is the one we shall vote, you will continue lamenting, you will never see them. They are accounting to the masters who gave them the money, you will never see them. The second problem why you don't see your leaders is because they know that their term is just a one term. And that's the beauty about the youth politics. that someone will never be your MP twice. So once they get into parliament, one, the Honorable Kiraso told you that all the young people, whether from NRM or from the opposition, we are faced with the problem of unemployment, we are faced with the challenge of poverty, we are faced with the challenge of access to quality and affordable education, we are faced with the challenge of health. And these were highlighted in the National Population and Housing Census of last year. Those were the concerns that young people raised and said these must be highlighted by our government. The equal opportunities also highlighted the same. Now, you may never give what you don't have. You can only give what you have. The ones who buy you, for heaven's sake, have proven from the very word go that they have no moral integrity. So you don't expect them to be persons of integrity to come back to you and pretend to be serving you. Secondly, they are preparing to bump into a constituency. So whatever little they get from wherever they are going into some constituency to be members of parliament. And so you may never see them in your constituency as young people. You are actually used as ladders for purposes of transition from youth leader to next destination. But I can also say don't complain much, because there is at least a light at the end of the tunnel. I just want to use the words of John F. Kennedy, who says that a society whose young people are in a constant state of slumber will never achieve her full potential. Raise up the young people of Uganda. At least for you, you are lucky you are going through some academies, you are getting people to speak to you and give you encouragement. Some of us didn't get this opportunity. We maneuvered on our own. We made mistakes and learned from our mistakes. The only good news is that we would fall and rise. Raise up and take up your space. This space is yours. Learn from the past. When you look at the efforts that young people have made, they talked about the Museveni's who went to the bush in 1980. Majority of them were in their late 20s and early 30s. The Mugisha Muntus, by the time he became Army commander, he was just 29 in your age brackets. They told you here that President Museveni, at the time he contested in an election for member of parliament, he was 27. So don't look at yourself and think you are just nothing. I know the challenges that you have. Yes, the monetization of elections is giving you a raw deal in terms of participation because you don't have the much money that is required. Yes, we agree that government is putting in some projects and programs meant for the young people. But I can tell you that majority of those programs, I know for a fact that those who have benefited from them are not necessarily the people who are needed. I know for a fact that even those who have benefited from those programs are not necessarily the young people. They are people who have used the young people to apply, like for the youth livelihood programs, the youth venture capital funds, old people, parade young people, because they have relationships with those who recommend, they get the money and the young people don't get it. Some banks were asking for collateral for the young people to access this money, and yet they know that you don't have what it takes. You have no land to give us collateral. You have no house to mortgage. You have nothing to act as collateral. But even when they will give you, someone will give you powers of attorney. I go back to what my other brother there said, that even us in the opposition are actually an endangered species. The committees in many of the districts, Jacob, like you said, you intervened. In all districts of Uganda, they were under alert. These committees are to give out funds from His Excellency the President. We don't want members of the opposition who will be a stumbling block. And so, even those who would have otherwise been members of these committees were put out just because they were members of the opposition. or at times when these committees are sitting, if there seems to be a member of the opposition, a message may not be sent. So these are realities that we are living with. So my brother, it is still, the question is yours. If we haven't seen our members of parliament, what should we do next? What did we do wrong? Where did we do it right? Did we concentrate on the money and we left the quality that we needed? Or did we vote the wrong people? But I think Winnie Nyamutoro, you voted. Because she's now a minister. And I know some of us would say, when one of you is into a thing, whether you are eating or you are not eating, you will just say, Castor, we are also there. I think maybe because she was working hard, that is how she got into the ministry. And I can tell you she's hardworking. At least that one is traceable. The Honorable Nyamutoro is traceable. You can dress her and she's available. Even when I'm not a youth, I'm not into her category of voters, I can ask for guidance and she will give it. By the way, so not only the young people, even our women who went on the women ticket, they make us think that possibly there is need to review this affirmative action for women. Because even the women, some of them are not articulating the women issues. They are there on the ticket of women, but when it comes to speaking about issues that are affecting women, they will keep quiet. You know why? Because majority of the women have no funds. It is men who sponsor their campaigns, and eventually it's men who drive the agenda that women are talking about in parliament. So that's why I said, he who pays the piper calls the tune. Beware of whoever wants to fund your campaign. Ask them, what is your motivation? Is it that you believe in me, or you believe I'm going to pursue your agenda? And that calls for leadership. I know we are going to fundraise, to look for money, and I encourage you to go and run, because at least some of you have known what it means to be a transformative leader. It is transformative leaders that we want, and it is you in this room that are going to change the dynamics in our society. It is you in this room that are going to lead us to the next destination where we want to go. It is you in this room that are taking Uganda to the desired future. I call upon you to take up the mantle. If we have killed the past, we are busy destroying the present, at least let's have a future that looks brighter for all of us. Because we would also want to be in our old age and look back, and we know that we have the backing of the young people who are leading us well and who are cognizant of the effects of being young and you are not taken care of. Also, you are old and nobody is there to take care of you. The Montessori's will tell you that we also need a young population that should hold our backs. But it is you, ladies and gentlemen, in this room that can create a better Uganda for all of us. Because you form the majority. Walid told you that more than 70% of our population is of people below the age of 30. I just get surprised and shocked many times that the minority are oppressing the majority. Do you believe that? The minority are oppressing the majority. The young people are the majority. The women form the majority. But it's the young people and the women who are crying, who are left behind, who are not taken care of. We are given 30% out of 100%, and yet we are at 77%. A program comes into the constituency and they say, parish development model, they use 30%, the women 10%, and we are the majority. What an irony. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, Linda. Thank you very much. Let me pick from where Nalong was ended. Regarding the question, because you were asking the same question. I think even the mode of election, I feel uncomfortable voting the young people via college. The women reviewed that kind of arrangement in 2006. From 2006, where Honorable Kiza contested the first time as a woman MP for Kasese, she didn't contest under the college. She contested under the universal adult suffrage. How I wish the young people of Uganda we also have the same kind of arrangement, whereby when you go to elect the president, the district member of parliament, the direct constituency MP, then you also have a separate voting booth for the youth MP within that region, such that it allows inclusivity. The young people from all villages within the region participate in determining their representative in parliament. But the youth MPs are really not answerable to everybody because they never participated in voting them. They were voted via an electoral college system. So how I wish, as we review the arrangement as per the constitutional command, we also do the same. It will also lessen us that burden. I also support increasing the number of members of parliament of the young people. It is inordinate, it is unfair, it is ridiculous to have 10 representatives for the army, and then the youth, they have only 5. What are the army doing in parliament? What are they legislating? The army people have their representatives who can legislate for them, who are coming from their villages where they come from. They don't need a representative in parliament. We have a whole wing of the executive in parliament as ex-officials. They can present the issues of army in parliament without necessarily having army MPs. I've never had even a single member of parliament from the army presenting even a bill, even legislating. I've never. I can be collected, Honorable Willie. You were there 15 years. So, in my own view, I think we need to increase the numbers, but I also join the Honorable Winnie Kiza in inviting you, the young people, to join the stage. Instead of complaining for the few that we have, in this room I see potential members of parliament who are capable. Not the other products I talked about, the products who are reduced to being RDCs. The products whom we cannot locate on the political Google map. For you, I'm seeing well-groomed leaders. So I thank the NIMD for facilitating you, for grooming you, and I think if you go back in your villages, offer leadership, we shall end the conversation of complaining. We shall occupy parliament as young people, and we shall legislate fine policies. As I wind up, you need to look at a comparative analysis of the young people in the 60s and the 80s. During the Obote regime, the two Obote regime, he had something akin to NYC called the NUSU and NUYU, National Union of Youth in Uganda, National Union of Students in Uganda. Those two bodies produce fine leaders. The Right Honorable John Patrick Amama Mbabas, the Right Honorable Ndugu Lugunda, Chango Macho, and extra. The NRM cannot pride to say that it is the one which produced those ones. It found them as finished products of the UP's administration. So, where are the NRM products? The young people who have been groomed, mentored, produced under the NRM administration, the 40 years NRM, or even under the 20 years under multi-party political dispensation. The other disease,
But
we are yet to see him. After starting as NYC chair, all eyes are on you to see where you are going. We don't want you to end as another district. It will be a very big disservice for Honorable AN to be reduced to a position of RDC.
But Google also product of NRM.
All right, thank you so much, Rebecca, for that. I think I'll give Mr. Nimrod a chance to make some remarks, and
Thank
then
you.
I think we will close our panel.
Thank you, Raymond. I think it would be unfair for me to leave this symposium without putting some clarifications. I've had my brother Rebecca making very serious allegations. I am a district youth chairperson of NRM Youth League of Namisino District, but also at the same time I'm the chairperson of the Youth League Caucus of Bugisu sub-region. Now, I have heard him saying that NRA produces voting machines that come and vote and later they are forgotten. I want to remind the symposium today. Today alone, the elections that are going on in the country of the National Youth Council, in my district, whereby I have the responsibility to see that the flag bearers of NRM, whereby it was an internal process, we voted our flag bearers by lining up at village level. Today when I was trying to find out what's going on, 90% of them have gone unopposed. NRM. And they are unopposed in the National Youth Council. What does that mean? The opportunity is there. There are few who come as independent. The opportunity for the young people from other political parties. Our brother here was making that, they are marginalized.
But Nimrod, maybe if I could just push back on that. You have this 4 years in which young people are beaten, tear gassed on the streets. People are arrested for just having political inclination and opinion. You have to look for bail money for your friends every 3 weeks. That's not the kind of environment where you produce candidates against the ruling party.
Thank you.
So how much are you doing to talk to the NRM where you come from to say, we're in a multi-party dispensation, you shouldn't arrest young people for having a different political opinion?
Thank you. I want to remind you, today, in Chuafu zone, in Machindia, all the 9 village leaders of NYC are from opposition. Today. I've given you exact example in Chuafu zone 1 in Machindia. All the 9 are from opposition. Don't you think we have NRM people who stay there? They are there. What does that mean? That the space is there. It's upon you to organize yourself internally as a team to come out and take the space. No one is going to give it to you. Definitely no one. No one will give President himself in space. He organized himself with his team. They took the space. This is to the young people there. That the government has done its part. It has established the NYC. It's a platform.